Islam to all of the Moors. I'm Dr. Yusapa from Zion Law School. Welcome to the free Astrology course. So let's pick up where we left off, y'all. Our course textbook is the Gospel. Our course textbook is the Devil's Pulpit. The author is the Reverend Robert Taylor. Okay, we also use as supplementary textbooks the Diegesis and Ptolemy's Tetrabiblios. Okay, so we left off on page 20. All right, we left off on page 20. So let's go back and get started. I'll be right with you. Just give me one moment, please. Man, this place is full of mosquitoes. Man. Hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm curious about something and I'm checking. All right. So page 20, we're in part 2 of the Star of Bethlehem, page 20. All right, and there's some really interesting information that we're about to consider. I think foundational information that everyone should know. So let's get into it, okay? Page 20, first paragraph. We arrive at conclusions than which the corollaries of a mathematical problem are not more consequential and demonstrative. In other words, the author is saying that using philology, linguistics, specifically etymology, well, let me be even more specific. Etymology, architecture, art, primarily, grammar rules. Using these, equipped with the understanding that the gospel, each of the 4 gospels, are nothing more than a remix of cosmic phenomena, the Zodiac. Okay? The Zodiac. When you have this information, in other words, the Gospels are fairy tales. Okay, we're going in this video we're going to get into what the Gospels were initially, what their initial purpose were, and then how they have been remixed into a religious book, and you see that in Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. All right, y'all. But the author's point in this paragraph is that using those sciences, you can come to an exact conclusion, as exact as if you were doing a mathematical equation. This is his point, but let's let him speak for himself. Of these corollaries, one of the first is that as all ideas of mankind must necessarily have been received in the mind in the same way, right? We got the same eyes, same ears, same sensory apparatus, okay? We have not changed. Our anatomy and physiology is still the same, okay? So it wasn't like they could experience something we could not, or that we can't experience what they experience, okay? Nothing has changed, okay? So keep that in mind. So there must have been a wonderful sameness and similarity in the modes, figures, signs, and forms expressing those ideas, and as wonderful a sameness of association of idea, the one calling up the other by a single action of a similarly constituted brain in all ages and among all nations of mankind. So the only disagreement I would have to bring to your mind is that the hybrid is different from the autochthonous men and women who are sprung from the soil. Okay, and if y'all get the time, go back and take a look at Dr. Oyibu. As I mentioned, there's another professor, but I don't remember his name. He also takes you through that research that was done in the 90s about the intelligence genes, okay, that was funded by the U.S. government, President Clinton. Cheers. Okay, so y'all go through that. Dr. Oyibu goes through it, I think, in many of his videos, so it shouldn't be hard to find. If you just go through a couple of his videos, he'll explain it to you. Okay? Anyway, so I differ with the author on this point. We are, in fact, different. We have, clearly, if you have an autochthonous woman and she gives birth or she's impregnated with the sperm of a chimpanzee, and then that's genetically engineered over time with other animal DNA. I mean, clearly there's a difference, right? Clearly there's a difference. As compared to a man and a woman sprung from the soil, autochthonous, Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, who come together and produce an heir. There's clearly a difference, right? So man is quote unquote Lord. I'm quoting Noble Drew Ali. Man is Lord over all kingdoms on the earth plane. Okay, man is. All right, so in other words, man is the superior being. Clear? Okay, so a hybrid would be lesser, and that research report shows you that. But anyway, let's continue. That's neither here or there. You can confirm all of this stuff by looking at their history. Some people might say, well, the hybrid is more intelligent. Look at standardized test scores. And what I would say to that is, if you are not intelligent enough to see what's happening or what has happened with standardized test scores, then I would question your intelligence. See, I know from the academic side of it, and I've experienced it. I know what goes down. All right? I'll give y'all a good example. When I was doing my MBA, I always had the feeling that the professors were helping the people who didn't look like me. I always had the feeling they'd have secret sidebars and the whole 9 yards. But of course I couldn't prove it, but my intuition told me, and from what I can see, the way they move, right? But then when I got into medicine, it became clear. I found out because one of my classmates was not sprung from the soil, okay? And she preferred being around us, right? And she confirmed that the professors were giving her, I don't remember if it was 50% of the exam questions. I don't remember what it was. All right. Yeah. So, and then this happened in Europe and also in Asia. from my own experience, y'all. Okay? Nobody ever gives away power. Okay, y'all? Especially when they know they're at a deficit and they need to keep you in odds thinking you're inferior. Okay? It's one big conspiracy. Fake science, the whole 9 yards. But anyway, let's continue. And some of y'all out here thinking y'all just ain't smart. All right, let's continue. We're on page 20. Okay. So hence arises the large and very extensive class of words called radicals. Radicals. Now we're in the world of linguistics, etymology, radicals. Notice this, y'all. Radicals. That is words. Radicals. That is words which are the roots and bases of innumerable varieties of language, but which, when analyzed, are found to be essentially the same and of the same signification. In other words, it's the same word and essentially the same meaning. Now, I go through this. I teach this extensively in 506 The Curses course, which is our live Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time course. We go through it extensively, but I also introduce you to it and give you the mechanics of it in the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. That's the streaming online course. Everybody should take that course. It's only $10 per month. Okay? That's going to give you a very, very good introduction into the concept of radicals, or words which are often called roots or bases. Now, in Ibaryath, a root is a verb. A base is everything else. Okay? Or most everything else. Let me put it like that. So for those of you who have purchased my 101 Phoenician Hebrew book, the brown book, that gives you all of the etymological meaning, parts of speeches, etc. for the 10 Commandments, you will know also the book series that I have published called I Can Read Deuteronomy chapter 28. There's 3 volumes at present. I still need to complete about 3, maybe 2 to 4 more volumes of that. It's in the works. But you'll see roots and their etymological meaning. You'll see bases and their etymological meaning, and you'll see the others. Okay? So depending on the root or base etymological meaning and its function, y'all got to get the books to know what I'm talking about. That's going to, you can add that up, so to speak, and that's how you derive at the meaning of a verse, word by word. Okay, in consideration of the function of the word and the grammar rules, but there's much more to it. Okay, there's much more to it. I'm just introducing to you this subject of radicals. Now remember, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Let me repeat that. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Now do you see why they don't want you to know how to read or speak? Now do you see why they got you speaking connotative English? And you think, you believe deeply that words don't matter. You see why they did that to you? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. All right, in Genesis chapter 1, you have the deity, the Elohim, speaking, according to your doctrine, speaking everything into existence through words. You think he was speaking connotative linguistics? Using words that the meaning that he thought wasn't the actual meaning of the word? Y'all think that's what happened? Or was he speaking denotatively? The meaning of the words had the exact meaning that they'd always had. They had not been changed. See, if you have the common sense enough to know that when he spoke those things into existence according to the doctrine, he was speaking words according to their original meaning. Okay? We're talking about radicals. Let me say it again. Radicals. And you must know how words are formed. Word morphology. Or how the word is constructed. You must absolutely know that. Because that speaks to the function of the word and the grammar. And if there's any inconsistency, if anything is out of order, that should alert you that it's a potentially, well not potentially, it is a Jeremiah 8, verse 8 occurrence. One little change in the way the word is constructed can change the complete meaning of a sentence or a verse. Y'all hear me? A perfect example of that is in Genesis chapter 1. And I'm not going to tell y'all, but those of y'all who have come to my class, who've been enrolled in Zion Law School, y'all know how profound that one little change is. It completely changed everything. Concerning Adam and Eve, so-called, in Genesis chapter 1. All right? And if y'all knew what the real deal is with the created creature in Genesis chapter 1, even if you knew who the Elohim are, y'all been totally bamboozled. You don't know anything about Genesis chapter 1, except for what your church or camp has told you. But when you look at it in terms of etymology and grammar rules, you'll see that you've been totally fooled and made a fool of. And made a fool of. Okay? Let me repeat it. And made a fool of. Because if you understood linguistics, there's no way you would believe what you currently believe. All right, y'all? You would see who the Elohim are. I didn't say is, I said are. Secondly, you would understand something that's so shocking about that created creature in chapter 1. That's so shocking that you might feel bad for a long time. If you understood what that created creature is. And only the etymology and the grammar rules will reveal that to you. So you keep on making excuses that you don't need to know etymology. You don't need to know Ancient Ibaryath. Words, everybody knows what they mean. You are a fool. And I tell you to your face, you are a fool. I mean, in your present state of mind, you are a fool. Okay, so what am I saying to you? That's the seed egg, or the thought egg, or the thought seed that's been put in your mind by your oppressor's mental masculine energy. I'm speaking of the Hermetic laws. And they got you being a fool and thinking like a fool. But guess what? That's not who you are. Okay, but they've hijacked your manifestation system, if you will. It's been hijacked. And you feel like these thoughts and behaviors are your own, but you are absolutely wrong. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. You better remember that. Hence arises the large and very extensive class of words called radicals. I wrote a dictionary, a lexicon, an Ancient Ibaryath, Aramaic, and English lexicon that has every one of the radicals in the Hebrew scriptures. It has every last radical in the Hebrew scriptures in it. Every last one of them. And no, it's not cheap. But it's affordable. And one of these, I don't know if it was a hybrid or a jealous, envious black or Hebrew Israelite. I don't know who did it. But somebody made a very negative comment on the size of the book. Oh, the book cost, I think the book cost $99. The book cost $99. I thought it was going to be this huge book. Man, how ignorant can you be? It is a book of radicals. It's some 1,600, some 1,600, something like that, y'all. I don't remember the exact number. But somebody left a comment like that on Amazon. And in the description of the book, I clearly tell you, it is not a full lexicon. It is a lexicon of radicals. So why would I do that? Why would I do that? Because in order for you to learn, you need to learn the radicals first. Okay, you need to learn the radicals first. I bet you 99.99% of y'all can't even look up a word in Strong's dictionary. And you've been a Hebrew Israelite for 10, 15 years. You don't even know how to find a word. Boy, oh boy. So I put that together for our people to simplify it. But not only that, when you get these lexicons, when you get the old ones have a lot of value. When you get them, a lot of times the print quality is terrible. The words are smudged. You can't make it out. You don't know what the words are. But what good is a word if you cannot identify the radical? But you see how vicious? You see how vicious some of these Christians and Hebrew Israelites can be? The vicious envy and jealousy. That person could have easily sent me an email or called me. It's probably someone I know. Probably someone I kicked out of the class. To be quite honest with you. That's probably what happened. And then they did that. But that's neither here or there. My point is this. You don't need to memorize every radical and know them by heart. That's not necessary. Okay? It's not necessary. What you need to do is to be able to work with them. To be able to work with them. Understand them. All right? That's all you need to be able to do. And then use the book, use the dictionary as a reference work. You know what? I'll tell y'all something. As we stand right now, with the number of radicals and words that we have in Ancient Ibaryath, we cannot use it to speak every day. in order for that to happen, I would have to create more radicals or create more words. But I haven't done it. And I tell you the reason why I haven't done it, and maybe I made a mistake, but the reason why I haven't done it is because I didn't want to deal with the blacks, the Hebrew Israelites and the Christians who would destroy my reputation. But just imagine how beneficial that could be. You see what it did. Look at what the modern Hebrew, look at what they've been able to do as a religion that they call a people. They have their own language now. They made it up. They made it up. They don't hide that. But now they have books published in their own language. They're speaking their own language. Nobody understands what they're talking about. If they don't want you to know what they're talking about, they speak in Hebrew. But if you speak Yiddish, you can understand some of what they're saying. But y'all see how the viciousness of these blacks hold us back? I'm talking about the viciousness of these people who are in camps. I'm not singling any one of them out. And in churches. I'm speaking in general. The way they don't support. Just imagine, y'all imagine this. Just suppose if all these Hebrew Israelite organizations and Christian organizations, many of them are aware of my books, my publications. Imagine if they would start to encourage their members to buy my books so that we can begin to use our own language. We can get a base so that I and others can begin to produce more literature. Eventually, maybe we could, as a group, somehow, however it might be, together decide what the new radicals, if any, should be, what the new grammar rules should be, etc. Or maybe they say, okay, Dr. Yasapa, you do it, and we'll follow along with you. Y'all see how far we could be ahead of the game? But they're all niggas. They're all niggas calling themselves Hebrew Israelites. But they're niggas. Only interested in building members, building their membership, not raising up as a people. Let me, y'all be practical. Be practical. How can there be a movement? Be practical. Don't get offended. How can there be a movement, a return to the Most High, and you're still using your oppressor's literature? You're not making any attempts to use your own language. 0 attempts. In fact, you put shade on, or you try to cover those of us who are bringing forth the language. And you're doing it because you're afraid that you'll lose members or you'll lose power. This is kind of sick thinking going on. But anyway, it is what it is, right? They are under mind control, right? They are also under mind control. So don't get it twisted, y'all. Don't get it twisted. If you think that there is a real movement to return to the Most High, I would tell you, you are absolutely wrong. There may be a trend. There may be a trend happening, but that's about all it is. In the beginning was the Word. Okay, in the beginning was the Word. All right, and what do they cite? was cited as the authority? Genesis chapter 1. Okay, Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Huh? And y'all don't want to learn Ancient Ibaryath. Hence arises the large and very extensive class of words called radicals, that is, words which are roots and bases of innumerable varieties of language. So here's where you get into, I think if I recall correctly, I haven't looked at this in a while. Last time I looked at it was about 5 or 6 years ago. The scholars were saying that the original written language was Egyptian, and from Egyptian, Greek, and from Greek, Latin, right? And then from Latin, let me rephrase that. Yeah, from Latin, English, etc. The Romantic languages. So this is what the author is talking about. I'm not saying that that is correct. I'm not saying that at all. That's nonsense. To be blunt, to be direct with you, it's absolute nonsense. Why? Because the Egyptians themselves have said that they got all of their knowledge from those bloodline relations or nations that came before them. Y'all might call it Nile Valley civilizations. Egypt was the flower of the Nile Valley civilization, not because of Egypt's technology, not at all, because Egypt had the same technology as the other Nile Valley civilizations. The only difference is that Egypt built in stone. So there's a better record. That's all. And even that is actually misleading, because Egypt, ancient Egypt, is in the Americas. That's right, it is in the Americas. Let me say this. Maybe I'm going off on a tangent, but let me say this. When you're dealing with known criminals, known liars, known murderers, known black magic practitioners, and known stealers of land, known liars in academia, why would you believe anything that they tell you? Why would you accept anything that they tell you? If you're using your analytical thinking mind, you would not. You would question everything. You would question everything. Why? Because they have no credibility. I don't care if they are a Harvard professor or a so-called top researcher in their field. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's character. And the history, the record of that man or woman and the organization that they are involved in and their people. That's how you judge a matter. Otherwise, you're just a fool. You're just a fool. All right, you're just a fool. You drank the Kool-Aid. Okay, so let's go back to radicals. Radicals are words which are roots and bases. I already explained that. Of innumerable varieties of language. So if you know the radicals, you can go into any language, and guess what? You're going to meet those radicals again You're going to meet them again. There may be some minute changes, but you will see them again. Just like Richard Pryor said. I remember the Richard Pryor joke about the woman and the monkey, and the guy, he had the swollen feet. And the woman told him, well, basically he had to bring her a chicken or something like that as payment. And then the woman said, if you don't bring that chicken back, you know, when you're supposed to bring it, if you don't bring that chicken back, you will see that monkey again. Well, it's the same way with radicals. If you know these radicals, you will see the radicals again. And then that helps you to understand the meaning of Scripture. Y'all hear me? So those of you men with a womb, you sons with a womb, a lot of y'all are very, very good investigators. A lot of you are very curious, very good at investigating. Just ask their ex-boyfriend. And a lot of y'all have been on both sides of that, right? Y'all know how to figure things out. Y'all know how to lay traps. Okay? So y'all know what I'm talking about. So radicals are keys that can pull the skirt off the king. Okay? All right. So the radicals are roots and bases of innumerable varieties. He's going to get more into that as we go on. All right? But which, when analyzed, he didn't say looked over, passed over. He said when analyzed. Analyzed means it takes effort and energy. There's learning. There's comparing and contrasting. There's putting two and two together. There is doubting. There is imagining other possibilities that haven't been considered. Okay? But when these roots and bases or these radicals are analyzed, are found to be essentially the same and of the same signification, same meaning, same import, same significancy in all languages on earth. In all languages on earth. So for whoever that person is who put that negative comment, that lie on Amazon about the Dr. Yasapa, Ancient Ibaryath, Aramaic, and English, verbal root, I don't remember the title of it, but the roots, etymological dictionary, I don't remember what it has a rose on it. The cover has a rose on it. It's on zionlawschool.org if you want to buy it. Don't buy it on Amazon. They take too much money. But look at what you did to your own people in your ignorance and passionate envy, jealousy, or hatred. Look at what you did to your own people. Look at what you kept from them. And you did it intentionally. And these, you have the advantage of learning. Notice y'all, he's saying, and these radicals, you have the advantage of learning as you learn the general chords and principles of music. Y'all hear that? By your own ear. Yes, you can hear the radicals. You can distinguish between the radicals. But it takes study and effort. It also took a lot of study, effort, time, energy, resources, and money, and discipline to put that book together, as it does for all of my books. But when you come to class on Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you hear the radicals and the words being spoken. You hear it. And when you come to class often enough, you begin to notice the patterns. You begin to have sight recognition of the radicals. You begin to develop sight recognition of prefixes, emphasis, and suffixes. It takes time, but it's there for you. It's all been made easy. It's all been made easy for you. But I've been inviting people to come to class, and people send me a message. They want to come, but they don't show up. It's really a shame, you know, and y'all might not like the way I'm talking to you right now, but if it burns, if it stings, then I'm talking to you, and you know that you feel burned or stung or hurt because of what you're not doing that you know you should do. But it's so much easier for you to sit there and listen to the religious doctrine of a church or a camp. Because why? Jesus gonna come save you. Jesus gonna do it for you. And you know in your mind that if you don't get up and go to work, Jesus ain't gonna save you. You ain't gonna have no fiat. You're gonna have nothing to eat. And you can't pay the bills. And you'll be on the street. But you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself by telling yourself that Jesus is going to come save you. He ain't saved you yet. Stop going to work for a whole month. Don't call. Don't do anything. Radicals. You're buffering, brother. Okay, thank you so much for that information. He says I'm buffering. Let me tell you why I'm probably buffering. Because once y'all get it into your head that words matter, you're in the process. You're finally waking up. Words matter. That's why they don't teach you how to read. That's why, you know what the students have all over the country in the U.S.? Poor reading comprehension skills, poor critical thinking or analytical skills. That's not by mistake. That's by design. Because once you master words and reading, then you can step into Psalms 82:6 as a God. That's right. And you cannot avoid it. You cannot avoid having to deal with language. A lot of people come to class and they're afraid. And I understand that you're afraid. You may not have good reading skills. You may not know parts of speech. You may not know grammar. You may not know anything. You may not even be able to read one sentence. I've had people like this and understand what it means or remember it. Your short-term memory is all messed up. But all you got to do is keep coming to class, because the more you use this, the stronger it gets. And you're around people who you can listen to and learn from what they're saying. People who started same place you started. Some of them may even be at a lower level than what you started at. Okay? But you have to save yourself. Jesus ain't coming to save you. He ain't came and he ain't saved you yet. According to the story, he expired in 33 CE. It's now, according to modern time, the year 2023. So roughly what? 2,000 years later. And y'all still waiting, hoping, and believing. But practically speaking, that's crazy. And y'all know it's crazy. But you've been trained and conditioned to accept it, right? Why? Because you're afraid. Because your doctrine tells you that if you don't believe on Jesus, you're going to die and burn in hell. Or you won't be resurrected. You die forever, whatever your doctrine is. You're just scared. But it's through knowledge of radicals, knowledge of ancient Ibaryath, that you can overcome that fear. Okay? You can overcome that fear. You can come back to reality. So let's continue. So these radicals, you'll see them in every language. And these, you have the advantage of learning. Let me correct myself. So according to the scholars, if I remember correctly, the first language is, first written language is Egyptian. The second one is Hebrew, according to the scholars. And then Greek, then Latin, then all of the Romantic languages, if I remember correctly. Y'all check it. It doesn't really matter because all of that's BS. It's all BS. Okay? Let me tell y'all something. Most likely, here's the real deal. There's one language, and there were dialects. Okay, this would explain why they all have the same radicals. It would also explain why these radicals and words have different pronunciations. Y'all hear me? You hear me? No different than somebody in Alabama. They're going to have a different dialect than someone in Chicago or in LA. Completely different dialect. Right, y'all? That would also explain why they instituted public school systems to standardize the language and to create new languages. In other words, to cause confusion. Put layer and layer and layer and layer of confusion. Okay? Now that's my personal opinion. All right? They're just the same languages with different dialects, and they've been changed. That's my maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I think. And not that you should think it, but you should at least think deeply about anything that anybody says before you just accept it because they're a Harvard or Yale or MIT professor or PhD this, PhD that. Okay, not to do so means you're just a boy or a girl. Incompetent, an incompetent heir. You know how babies, y'all, their languages, you know how babies talk? That's how an adult talks when you're talking connotatively to someone who understands linguistics. And these, you have the advantage of learning the radicals as you learn the general chords and principles of music. See, it's an art and a science, okay? By your own ear. Come to class, you can hear it. Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. By hearing me, the author is saying this, by hearing me repeat to you, as is my custom, all the different languages through which the text on which I treat. In other words, he's saying, You're going to hear him. You're going to see him show you the radical. All the radicals are in this book. Okay? If you were alive then, when he gave his sermon, when he gave his lecture at the rotunda, you would hear him speak the radical. You would have heard with your own ear the author speaking that radical. You didn't do anything for it. You didn't pay for it. You put no effort, no work into it. But here you are, getting a great, huge, life-changing benefit just by being there. Just by being here in this course. Okay? When he says, through which the text on which I treat, he's talking about the Gospels. Okay? He's talking about the Gospels. All right? Some children here that are making a lot of noise. Okay, y'all understand what he's saying to you? If you would have been there in the rotunda, you'd have the privilege of hearing him speak those words, those radicals, those roots and bases that you would not ever have heard. Right? The same way you're never going to hear the Ancient Ibaryath unless you come to my class on Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you enroll in 101 Ancient Ibaryath. The links are in the description area of this video. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to hear it. And you're only doing yourself wrong by not acting, clicking those links. You're just harming yourself. So let's continue. Let's continue. By hearing me repeat to you, as is my custom, all the different languages through which the text on which I treat has been derived. Y'all hear it? Well, I want to tell that little boy to shut up. These radicals are always monosyllables. They never require more than 3 letters. Okay, so now we're dealing with parent roots. In Ancient Ibaryath, we're dealing with parent roots and other type. Y'all go out and get the book if you want to know the details about what kinds of roots they are. And I might make my old classes available on Patreon. I haven't decided yet. But I'm thinking about doing that. It's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work. All right, y'all. So there are different kind of roots. 1, 2, and 3 pictograph roots, or 1 letter, 2 letter, and 3 letter roots. Okay. So you need to learn about those so you can understand. All right. So these radicals, these roots, these bases are always monosyllables. Mono means 1. They never require more than 3 letters. And more often be expressed by 2 or 1. Okay, so we have ba, etc. This is what he's talking about. Y'all subscribe to 101 Ancient Ibaryath, the online course. Okay, you'll get this in that course, okay? It'll make it come alive to you. Hence, the earliest or most ancient languages of men are all monosyllabic. And all the combinations found with them. Combinations means what? Well, you have one radical, you have another radical. Well, guess what? You can add a prefix, infix, or a suffix, or you can combine two radicals. There's all kinds of combinations you can do according to what? According to the grammar rules. According to the grammar rules. Language is a law. Language is a natural law. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Let the congregation hear what the Spirit is saying. Hence, the earliest or most ancient languages of men are all monosyllabic, and all combinations found with them are merely grammatical. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? It's all grammatical. If it's all grammatical, that means what? It's governed by grammar rules and artificial variations of sound. Sounds are added and sounds are taken away, but not of sense. Y'all see it? So the meaning of the word essentially stays the same across all languages. What's going to change? Grammar rules and pronunciation. Now, if you understand these things, you're not going to be had. You're not going to be beat. And have been introduced in much later times, sometimes poetically and tastefully, but oftener, or but more often, note y'all, note. And I don't know if y'all can hear what I'm saying. I got another message that my signal was that I wasn't connected. So y'all let me know if y'all heard everything that I was saying, okay? Let me start from the top. Not from the top, but from the beginning of the sentence, okay? Let me start from the beginning of the sentence. What I want you to focus on is the last part of the sentence, okay? These radicals have always been monosyllables. They never require more than 3 letters. So we're talking about parent roots and child roots, and may often be expressed by 2 or only 1 letter. Hence, the earliest or most ancient languages of men are all syllabic. Well, that stands to reason. Why? Because the root was either one pictograph, or 2, or 3. Okay, now there are rules to pronunciation. For example, you can pronounce a 2-pictograph word with 1 sound, 1 syllable, or even 3. It depends on the rules. Y'all understand me? I hope I'm making myself clear. Empress Roro Armani right. Shalawama, I heard everything. Thanks, Empress Roro. I appreciate that. Grammar rules are extremely important. And all combinations found with them, all combinations of roots, be they verbs or otherwise, any combination, and these combinations are formed according to grammar rules, are merely grammatical. This is what he means right here. And no artificial variations of the sound. Do you understand what he just said? An artificial variation of sound. That means they made it up, y'all. Or or it's a different sound according to the dialect. For example, in the South, they pronounce many words differently than we pronounce them in the North. Okay? And their grammar is also different. Their grammar is also different, right? What do they call it in academia? Or to try to shame us? They call it Ebonics. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in that. Okay? There is no shame in that. This is what I hope I'm making this understandable or comprehensible to you scholars. I would like to know if y'all want to give me some feedback, put it in the comment section. Let me know if I'm presenting this in the way that you understand, because this is absolutely important. And I'm not talking about with religion. I'm talking about nationality, birthright, and self-defense. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You get a contract or you get a form and you sign it, you autograph it. You just screwed yourself. You just screwed yourself. Why? Because you can't read. You think language is unimportant. You're indifferent about it. So let's continue. Okay? And all combinations found with radicals are merely grammatical, artificial, either organically, artificial, in other words, people pronounce words differently, or they are intentionally pronounced differently. How does that happen? Well, you go to school, you go to church, and then they teach you how to pronounce the word and how to spell it. So why would they intentionally change the sound of a word? Here's why. And artificial variations of sound, but not the sense. Why would they do it? And have been introduced in much later time. So in other words, these changes in grammar rules, these changes in the way these radicals are pronounced, happen in later times. When the Moors fell and the hybrids came to power. In other words, the emergence of the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? And the downfall of real science. Okay, in other words, the scientists, linguistics, astronomers, astrologers, mathematicians, the Roman Catholic Church started having them murdered. And then they began to change the documents. Isn't this reminding you of Jeremiah 8, verse 8, y'all? About the scribes who wrote lies in the book of the law? And we see the same thing happening when the Roman Catholic Church is coming to power. Isn't that, y'all think that's coincidental? Notice. And have been introduced in much later times, sometimes poetically and tastefully, but oftener or more often to to hide and conceal the original source, whence they were derived. So they're hiding information from you. That's why they changed the spelling. That's why they changed the grammar rule. In other words, what? This is Jeremiah 8:8. This is Jeremiah 8:8. I didn't say it. You get this on page 20 of the Devil's Pulpit. Okay, y'all? You get this on page 20. This ain't Dr. Yasapa telling y'all something. Okay, this is Jeremiah 8:8. The man is just telling me. So is Jeremiah 8:8 talking about some edits to the documents that happened thousands of years ago? Or did these edits happen recently, a couple hundred years ago? If that. If that. See, the fact that the Gospels are a mythological story, and it is the birth of this mythological created creature, this fantasy man, Jesus Christ, allegedly born somewhere around 0 BCE. 0 BCE. Let me just say if Jesus Christ was never born, never walked on earth, never took a breath of air on earth, fully mythological, how do you explain that those who are in power now stopped time and changed it? And at 1 BCE, at the 0 B, Watch the Collapse podcast, right? Love you, Dr. Sapa. I'd still like to interview you. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm open to that. Contact me. My email address is in the About section. I appreciate that very much. It's yasapa@zionlawschool.org. yasapa@zionlawschool.org. So we go to 0 and then add 2,000 years. 2,000 years, a whole new calendar, a whole new paradigm based on based upon Greek and Roman history and tradition. 2,000 years. Well, if there was never a Christ, what are we to do with that 2,000 years of fake history? Do you see my point, scholars? What about this 2,000-year history? Do we remove it all? And that puts, where does that put us? If we remove that 2,000 history because there never was a Christ, well, that puts us back to what? The alleged wars between the Maccabees and the Greeks, which I've already demonstrated. Y'all watch the video I did with Sanetta. It's on my homepage, Zion Law School on YouTube. Where you're at right now, the title of the video is All Abrahamic Religions Are a Hoax. According to Moses, the Promised Land is a burning, uninhabitable waste land, just like Sodom and Gomorrah. Uninhabitable. No water, No, not 10. So now you got to erase all of the Maccabean history. Throw the book of Maccabees out. Now, might the book of Maccabees be describing another history, but they just changed the names and the places? Absolutely. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm just going with the story. I'm just going with the story. All right? So now you got to throw out all of that time. That takes you to what? Babylonian captivity, or the time they were allegedly released. And where were they supposed to have been released to? Well, back to the Promised Land. But the Promised Land was a burning waste. It's an impossibility. In fact, according to the story, there had been common people who had been left over in the Promised Land. Well, who are you going to believe? Moses or the scribes? Moses said, that when you get kicked out of the Promised Land, it would be destroyed. It would become like Sodom and Gomorrah, uninhabitable, a burning wasteland. So now we just got rid of all of that time. So you're back in Babylonian captivity. Well, what was happening shortly before and during Babylonian captivity? Well, that's where we would be at. That's where we would be at. Okay? Now you have better context to look at Jeremiah and Isaiah, but specifically Jeremiah 8, verse 8. We see that the documents, these books, these law books that contain science, natural law, linguistics, law, for example, constitutional law, if you will, or as it's expressed in the Declaration of Independence, nature's God and nature's law. It's a book of law, cosmology, astrology. It was edited to become a religious document. So the two time frames match up. All right? I'm not trying to tell you what to think or believe. I'm saying use your intelligent mind. You think about it critically before you just accept stuff. All right? Let's continue. But let me just bring this to your attention. The last sentence. The author says, but oftener, these grammar rules, changes in pronunciation, or different spelling of these words were done to hide and conceal the original source whence they were derived. See, if you know the source of the word, well, now you get the definition, right? And you get everything that was happening at the time that word was used according to whatever documents you're looking at. Okay? Let's continue. Of which last sort of words ye cannot have a more striking specimen than that of the first noun in our text, the name Jesus. Uh-oh. Of which last sort of words you cannot have a more striking specimen than that of the first noun in our text, the name Jesus. of which, look y'all, of which the last syllable, us, us, is no part of the word itself. Look at where my fingers are. The last part of the word, that would be a suffix, y'all. That would be a suffix. Okay, it is a suffix. In other words, it was attached to the word at the end of the word. Okay? Everybody see that? Y'all can stop it and pause it later. Okay, so we're dealing with Jesus. How Jesus is constructed, this would be the word morphology. Jesus, of which the last syllable, us, 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 is no part of the word itself, but the mere Latin termination. So that would, he's talking about a suffix, okay? Added, look y'all, added to the only real complete word, just, J-E-S. 3 letters, monosyllabus, 1 sound, just. He's demonstrating what he just wrote about, what we just talked about. Let me show it to you again. Y'all make sure that you download the PDF copy of this book. It's a free link in the description area of the video. All right? So you see the Latin termination us, us, 2 letters, us, 1 sound, us, and then just, 3 letters, J-E-S, just 1 sound. Okay? Everybody see that? That's his demonstration of what he wrote about in the paragraph above. Let's continue. Thus, Jesus Christus, let me rephrase, say that again. Thus, Jesus Christ us. Thus, Jesus Christ us is good Latin. But Jesus Christ is neither good Latin, nor good English, nor good sense. I hope y'all can see where we're going, or where the author is going. Y'all see it? Christus, or Christ us. Okay, now that's good Latin. In other words, the word is formed correctly, grammatically correctly. Christ us, Christus. But Jesus Christ does not. Well, let me let the author say it for himself. Let's continue for the sake of time. For in taking away the Latin termination from Christus to render it in English Christ, we should take away the Latin termination from Jesus and render it into just. Look at the first sentence. Now, why would they do that? Why would they do that, y'all? Why would they keep the US termination or suffix on Jesus, and then take it off of Christ, Christus, or Christ us? Y'all see that? So Jesus is not good Latin, therefore it's not good English. Why would they do that? He's demonstrating. He's demonstrating. Let's continue. The Greek word for Jesus being, and I'm going to show y'all, I don't read Greek, so I don't know how to pronounce this. The Greek word for Jesus being, and then they give us the Greek word, which is precisely the same adoption of the Latin termination into Greek. Okay? As our Jesus is an adoption of it in English. Is one among the 10,000 proofs that betray the monkish Latin origin of our New Testament. Uh-oh. Did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what let me show it. Look at the red underlined words. Look at the red underlined words in paragraph 1. Y'all see that? You've been lied to. Lied to. The Greek word for Jesus being, and they give us a Latin word, which is precisely the same adoption of the Latin termination into Greek. As our Jesus is an adoption of it into English, is one among the 10,000 proofs. It's a whole bunch of proofs, a whole bunch of examples like this in the Gospels that betray, or in other words, that go against, that disprove the monkish Latin origin of our New Testament. So the origin, the original language, is a lie. Well, let's see if the author can substantiate with sufficient evidence this claim. That is, or in other words, the Latin and not the Greek was the first language in which the contents of the sacred diegesis of Egypt was brought to the knowledge of the priests of Europe. They hid the origin by changing the grammar rules, by changing the sounds of the words. I'm getting this from page 20. Over here. So y'all put 2 and 2 together. Over here, he's telling you what changes they did and why they did it. Give me 1 second. So, by creating all of these different combinations, by changing grammar rules to create new words, changing their sounds, therefore their spelling, but maintaining the etymological meaning of the word. Okay? They did this. Why did they do it? To hide or conceal that the original document that we call the gospel is of ancient Coptic Egyptian origin. That's why they did it. At least that's the reason that the author wants us to focus on right now. Let's continue. Y'all know this is not what they taught you in church or in school, right? This is hidden knowledge. This is inner house knowledge. Okay? That is that the Latin and not the Greek was the first language. Did you catch that? So in other words, the original gospel is a Coptic Egyptian document which was translated into Latin, and from Latin translated into Greek. And he's going to show you the evidence. He's going to show you more evidence. But sufficient enough is this Latin termination us, us. Still be there. Why would the Latin termination still be there? That's the point. But let's continue. That is that the Latin, let me go back up. Hold on. I'm going to read straight through without giving any commentary for a minute, y'all. The Greek word for Jesus being, and they show it, which is precisely the same adoption of the Latin termination in Greek as our Jesus is an adoption of it into English, is one of the 10,000 proofs that betray the monkish Latin origin of our New Testament. That is, that the Latin and not the Greek was the first language in which the content of the sacred diegesis of Egypt was brought to the knowledge of the priests of Europe. Hold on, y'all. One moment. All right, y'all. Here we go. All right. So the translation was made from the Latin into the Greek. And a Greek original pretended. Not till after it was found expedient to oppose a check to the advance of curiosity and to throw a thicker veil over the mysteries of the gospel craft. That's right, gospel craft. Y'all got that? So in summary, the original Gospels comes out of Egypt. Now I've already explained why they wrote the Gospel. It was to hide, to preserve by hiding the astrological sciences, the Hermetic laws, etc., from the Catholic Church, because they were killing, murdering the scholars who had this knowledge, the scientists and the engineers, the professors, etc., wiping them out. Why? Because they wanted to shift from a natural law paradigm, reality, to a religious fairy tale fantasy paradigm. The only way they could do that is to kill off the scientists and make it so that their writings were unavailable to the public. Y'all see it? The European priests got a hold of these documents, translated them into Latin, and from Latin into Greek. Why? To hide the fact that they came out of Egypt and that they dealt with natural law, including astrology, astronomy, nature. Clear? They wanted to add an additional smoke screen and more mystery. Why? Because mystery causes confusion. It makes it easier to not just hide their motives and their crimes, but makes it easier to control you, because now you need them more and you can't figure this stuff out on your own. So you will just give up. Most people will just give up and let them lead you. Right? Okay, now let's continue. So this is a gospel craft. a gospel craft. Had the Greek been the original language, the Greek for Jesus must have had the Greek termination OS. This is the Greek termination or suffix. OS. Y'all see that? Let me back it up. Let me put it close first. Y'all see the OS where my thumb is? Right there? The Greek termination suffix OS. Let me back it up. I'll pause it for a minute so y'all can read it. You can also pause the video when you watch it again. Or you can download the book. I hope you download the book. Okay, y'all? So had the Greek been the original, the Greek for Jesus must have had the Greek termination OS. And would have been, and it shows it in Greek, I'll show it again. But the Greek, here he's showing it, is bad Greek. And nothing more than the Latin Jesus, exhibited in Greek characters. Let me show it. Now y'all read this. Read it so that you are not taking my word for it. Everything that's that's above my finger, underline. They just wrote the Latin termination US with Greek characters, which is here. So here's the Latin OS, and here it is again. Y'all see that? Y'all should watch the video that I did. I think the title has Semites in it or something like that, or liar. No, not liar. The thumbnail is a Neanderthal hanging on a cross. I think that's it. But in that video, I take you through a similar topic using radicals. And you'll be shocked what you'll find when you take Semite all the way back to its original meaning. You will absolutely be shocked. You should correlate it with human and monster. That's all I'm going to say. I hope I arouse your curiosity. Then you will see the connection. And if you're astute enough, you can connect that to Unum Sanctum, Doctrine of Discovery, Manifest Destiny, so on, Sister Q Trust, so on and so forth. All right? But the Greek word is bad Greek, and nothing more than the Latin Jesus, exhibited in Greek characters. The written documents, the diegesis, from which the Latin and subsequently the so falsely called original Greek. I don't know if y'all can hear me. I got another, I don't know if you heard me. I got another notice that my connection was gone. So let me go back to that sentence. The Greek for Jesus must have had the Greek termination OS and been, and they show the Greek word, but the Greek, if they show another Greek word, is bad Greek, and nothing more than the Latin Jesus exhibited in Greek characters. The written documents, the diegesis, from which the first Latin, that's the original Egyptian manuscript, from which the first Latin and subsequently the so falsely called original Greek, that's a lie, was derived, have necessarily perished. Oh, so now you got to take their word for it, right? You need to take their word for it. The original documents don't exist. You got to take their word. What happens if you don't take their word? Well, the Christ said, or the Gospels say, if you don't believe on Christ, you're pretty much doomed, right? Okay. So do y'all see the cruelty of this? You see the manipulation? Man, I'm getting eaten up by these mosquitoes. I really need a studio. This is so inconvenient and uncomfortable. But anyway, let's continue. I'll try to stay focused. All right? Okay, but Christian ignorance in maintaining its fable for a history, in maintaining the gospel story, the gospel stories are fairy tales, as history, and committing itself to criticism by fixing an era, E-R-A, that's a span of time, and a scene, that's the location of the gospel stories, that they are the place where they allegedly happened, when and where its imagined events occurred. See, now here we get into how they screwed themselves. Because using etymology, using history, architecture, philology, etc., given that they gave an era of time, well, we could go back and check it. Given that they gave a location, we can go back and check. Using linguistics and philology, they made a huge mistake by telling the time and the scene, but they thought we would never figure it out, right? They thought we would never figure it out. When and where its imagined events occurred has supplied the means of demonstrating the utter falsehood of its pretenses. In other words, we're going to catch him in a lie now. Because all we need to do is go back and check using science, not beliefs, not religious doctrines, just the tools that we discussed. We're going to see that all of this is a fairy tale. Inasmuch as we are able to adduce positive evidence of the existence and prevalence of precisely the same story in India, Persia is Iran, y'all, Egypt, and Greece for more than 1,500 years before the date assigned to the pretended or mythological story that occurred in Palestine. So in other words, they gave us the rope to hang themselves. Okay? They talk too much. By taking the words of the Greek text, the highest written authority to which we can familiarly appeal in their most simple and primitive significancy, and suffering no suborned or forestalled sense to pervert us from the sense which those words would naturally convey, we shall find it far, infinitely far, from any such historical or even pretended historical sense. What the author is saying here is that we're going to use denotative linguistics, etymology, right? The original meanings of these words to prove that the gospel is nothing but a story. In fact, it's a story that was told in Egypt, Persia, Egypt, and Greece before it was told in Palestine. That's all he said there in a very fancy way. Okay? Let's continue. As our fraudulent English translation. Oh, what about the Hebrew Israelites who say that The King James Version, every word is true. Oh my goodness. And many of y'all believe this stuff, even though there are many scholars that'll show you the errors in the KJV. And not only that, but it's just everything that's surrounding the writing of the KJV. All of the controversy and mystery surrounding its writing. Who wrote it? You know, who was the team? What was their nationality? Whose side were they on? Y'all don't even think about these things. But the Hebrew Israelites will tell you in a minute, many of them will tell you that the KJV is the absolute word of God. Everything in there is the word of God. When there's so many reasons, there's so much evidence that's so easily available. But y'all want to believe, right? Y'all want to believe. Why? Why y'all want to believe? Because you know in your heart that you're a coward. That's why. You've been made into a coward. And I'm not talking to the women. I'm talking to the men. You're going to sit back and wait for Jesus to do what a man should do for himself. Huh? You're going to wait for some deity to come save you. Why? Because you're a coward. You're afraid. You're afraid to stand up. Part of that is your mama's fault. Because of the way she raised you. She's a woman, not a man. But you're waiting on Jesus to come save you. And you're afraid. Well, let's just be direct. You're afraid to die. You're afraid to get locked up. You're afraid to live at a lesser level than what you're at now. You're just a coward. You are unprincipled. You're dishonorable. And you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying is true? Many of y'all. That's why you're still in Christianity. You're scared. If you even question the doctrine, then Jesus is going to make you burn in hell. Or Jesus you're not going to get a resurrection. It's all fear. Be honest with yourself. It's all fear that's controlling you. Be honest with yourself. Man up. I'm talking to the men, not the women, the men. All right, y'all? So the English text is fraudulent. The KJV. What year was the KJV written, y'all? I don't remember. I should remember because I deal with it all the time. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The English texts are fraudulent, according to the author, as our fraudulent English translation and still more fraudulent preachers of the gospel would palm our insulted reason. Okay, so they know that you don't know anything about language, and so they can pull this over on you. They can get it off on you. Right? So there it is. Page 22. We're going to keep going for about another 15 or 20 minutes, y'all. Page 22. Quote, Now when Jesus, us is a Latin termination that was maintained in the English. Why would they do that? Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, so here's our setting, in the days of Herod the king, end quote. Okay, so now the author is dealing with what he said he was going to do. Okay, he said he was going to use the time period that they gave to prove that this is a fairy tale. And he's also going to use the place or the setting that they gave to prove that this is a fairy tale. So now that's what he's doing right now. Will he produce sufficient evidence? Can you give him full faith and credit? Is he credible? Can you rely on what he's presenting? Let's continue reading. Now, if this were an accurate rendering of the Greek, which it is not, and if the common sense meaning of our English words, the common sense meaning of our English words were allowed to be its meaning, who could, for one moment, pretend that this was the style of writing of anyone who could have been contemporary of the events? In other words, who can prove that this was the way they wrote at that time? Because nobody in 1830, when he gave this sermon, was there. There was nobody there. In other words, there's no first-hand witness. They're all long dead and gone. Right? You're talking about what? When JC did his ministry, between 30 and 33 years old. Okay, so let's say 33 CE. This is happening in 1830. Well, let's continue. Now remember, this was a sermon before it was put in book form. Okay, so let's continue. And if the common sense meaning of our English words, that's in 1830, the common sense meaning of the English words in 1830 were allowed to be its meaning, that's the meaning of the Greek of the text in Greek, who could, for one moment, pretend that this was the style of writing of anyone who could have been contemporary of the events he was about to relate? You wasn't there, so how can you say? Right? You don't know how they wrote. You're only looking at something that we know is fraudulent because they told you that the Greek is original. So you already know there's lies involved with it. So how can you say anything about its authenticity? Right? Who had ever lived with, seen, or conversed with the person of whom he speaks? Quote, now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king. You wasn't there. Who said that? That's his point. How fatal, therefore, it is to any pretense that any more than a romance was intended. Now, y'all know what the end of, y'all know why we romance, right? A man romances a woman. Or, these days, a woman romances a man. Y'all know what the end goal of that is. Somebody gonna get... in a good or a bad way. But look at the literality of the text. So he gives the text in Greek. So when he says look at the literality of the text, what he's talking about is consider the literal meaning of the text in terms of the words, their etymological meanings, the grammar rules, word morphology, etc. Consider all of these things, and what does the text say? In other words, what does it say on paper? Forget about your doctrine. Right? What do the words say? What's the meaning of the sentence? Regardless of doctrine. All right? The science of language, what does it say? That's all. So here we go. But look at the literality of the text. In English, it's this, y'all. The jes, that's J-E-S. Now that's J-E-S without the Latin termination U-S or us. It's not Jesus, it's the jes rather. No Latin termination. The jes or yes. There was no J. There was no J. No J sound. But there was a Y. So it's the yes, Y-E-S. Isn't that interesting, y'all? Isn't that interesting? The yes. Yes is an affirmation, isn't it? So the Greek text in English literally means the yes being the house of corn. The house of corn. This is astrology. This is clearly straight up astrology. The just, the yes. Let me say it again, y'all. I lost the connection. I hope y'all can still hear me. Man, hold on. I don't know if I'm still, y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. I'm going to keep going, okay? I'm not going to let this distract me. I keep getting a notification that my connection has been lost. Reconnecting, etc. Tap to retry, etc. Let me start from the top. Hold on. But look at the literality of the text. The jes, or the yes, being the house of corn, of the, and then it gives another Greek word. I'm going to show it on the camera. Empress Roro writes, you're fine. Thank you, Empress Roro. In the days of Herod, the king. The yes being in the house of corn in the days of Herod the king. Did y'all get that? The yes being in the house of corn in the days of Herod the king. Jesus was in the house of corn in the days of Herod the king. Continue. Thus we have the literal translation of the mongrel Greek, Hebrew, and Phoenician roots of this egregiously misconstrued sentence, of which the sense is the sun, the S-U-N, the sun, the disk or the orb in the sky. That is the yes, Y-E-S, or the just, Jesus without the Latin termination U-S, or Jesus was in the house of corn. The sun, Jesus, was in the house of corn, being the zodiacal sign of the Virgin. who is distinguished by the spike of corn in her hand, and is the genus of the month of August, which is the harvest month, which is further distinguished by the definition. And then we see another Greek, two more Greek words, which is further distinguished by the definition of these two Greek words. I'm going to show it. The house of corn, or the house of bread. The house of corn, or bread of, that is most literally of the Zodiac, and still further by addition in the days of Herod the king. We see the Greek sentence, that is, not in the days as signifying the reign of any king on earth called Herod, but in, or according to, the ephemeris, or almanac of Hercules, the sun, the S-U-N, sun. Y'all got that? The ephemeris, or almanac of Hercules, the S-U-N, sun. That's what's meant by in the days of Herod, the king. That name Herod being compounded of, in other words, Herod is two words that have been made into one. It's a compound word. Clear? That name Herod being compounded of two Greek words. I'm going to show it. I'm on page 22. That is the hero of the skin. These two Greek words, when compounded, in English become Herod, H-E-R-O-D. Their meaning is hero of the skin. Hero of the skin. The well-known epithet of Hercules, derived from his always being described, sculptured, painted, and distinguished as wearing the skin of the Cleonian lion. Y'all see the philology all over the place in here? Y'all see this? This is philology. This is mythology. I did a post dealing with Hercules and stables. Christ was born in a manger in a stable. And now here we see Hercules in the story again. Hidden in English by the word Herod. So they created a whole doctrine, a whole paradigm, and got you believing that there was a man, a king named Herod. How did they do it? They did it using grammar, using words. See, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. They created a word and caused you to believe. And therefore, through your belief, you brought this stuff to life. You give it life. Through your energy, through your belief, you give it life. In other words, it only exists because you believe it exists. So they used spells, spelling. In order for spelling to have any meaning at all, there have to be grammar rules. So that more than one person, more than the person who wrote it, can read it and understand it. They used spelling to cast a spell on you. And then what did they do? Well, they use mental gender and cause and effect. How did they do it? Well, they forced you to learn it in church, Sunday school. They created images. They created holidays. They gave it all of these reasons for you to accept it as true without even thinking about it. What else did they do? Songs, incantations, sermons, Christmas cards, poems, literature, laws. Why? To establish it as fact and reality in your mind. To take you out of nature on the good ship Jesus into maritime admiralty, Catholic, Christian, canon, corporate policy. The world of the dead. To make you Civiliter, Mortuus. To make you Goyim, a stateless person, or an incompetent heir, a human resource. All right? All through language. Okay. For whatever real personages in real history might have assumed the mythological, astronomical name of Herod, it is certain that no King Herod or Herod the Tetrarch as a person that ever existed on earth was intended by, and we see two more Greek words, I'll show it, or King Herod of the Gospel. But as the literary, let me repeat that. But as the literality of the name betrays, the hero of the skin, King Hercules, that is the S-U-N, sun. King Hercules is the sun, the S-U-N, sun, the orb in the sky. King Hercules is the sun in the sky, is the hero of the skin. Why? Because Hercules is always depicted in art, paintings, statues, etc., as wearing the skin of the Cleonian lion. Who, we're talking about the S-U-N, sun, who in his annual progress through the signs of the Zodiac, before he can reach the lion of July, that's the lion of the tribe of Judah, and so invest himself with the skin of the lion. So the sun is going to do what? When it becomes July, the sun takes on the full characteristics and attributes of the zodiac sign that it is in. So the sun, as it were, invests itself in the skin of the lion. The sun becomes the embodiment of the lion. Hence the skin of the lion. Who in his annual progress through the signs of the zodiac, before he can reach the lion of July, and so invest himself with the skin of the lion, as to become the hero of the skin, that is, the Herod, indeed, is obliged to kill all of the children that were in Judea, that is, in Bethlehem, and the coast, therefore, which is a most accurate definition of the zodiac. Now we see it in the Greek, but let me continue. In Bethlehem, and in all the divisions of it, in which you will see that there are two children of 2 years old, Gemini, the twins of May. In Bethlehem, and in all divisions of it, in which you will see that there are two children, the 2 years old Gemini twins of May, which this solar Herod is said to kill. In our English rendering, but in the literal Greek, to take or put away. So in English it says Gemini gets killed. But literally in the Greek language it says Gemini gets put away or passed through, as the sun passes through the sign of Gemini, the two twins, and that there were but 2 of them is discovered by the reference made to the astronomical scheme of the prophet, that is to say, of the old astronomer Jeremiah, quote unquote. In Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children. Why Ramah? What is Ramah? Why Ramah is the Hindustani, Coptic, Syriac, Phoenician word and literal name for the Zodiac. The high, the elevated, the exalted. And this whole tale of the birth of Christ in the days of Herod the king is found in the Bhagavad Purana in the Mithrics of Persia, and in the fabulous writings ascribed to Zoroaster, the supposed contemporary of Moses. And let me rephrase that. As turn to the old astronomy ascribed to Moses. Y'all got that? Y'all hear that? Turn to the old astronomy ascribed to Moses. You will find that Rachel had but 2 sons, 2 Gemini, which were Joseph and Benjamin. And there they are to this day in Ramah, the 2 boys of the Zodiac, as Joseph and Benjamin together are accounted as making up but one of the 12 signs. So Joseph and Benjamin are Gemini. And this King Herod is no other than such a sort of personage as our English John Bull. He never grows old, he never goes dead, but he is the bloody King Herod, the naughty man that comes to take away the naughty children. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go back and talk a little bit more about this. We're already 2 hours and 10 minutes into it. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to see if I want to go forward or go back with the commentary. Okay, let's go back. So here we see that before the sun, give me 1 second. Before the sun goes into Virgo, it has to go first through Gemini. Let me get my thoughts together. That was a lot of information. page 22. Y'all make sure y'all download this, okay? We're on page 22. Y'all take a look at it. You can see the places where the Greek is. Let me show it, document it. Page 22. All right. Whew. So Herod is a compound word. Y'all can stop the video, take a look at it. There's a compounded Greek, the two words that are compounded to form Herod. Okay? Herod is not a real person. Herod is the son. Herod is Hercules. So make the connection. JC is born in a manger in a stable. So we see the 12 labors of Hercules. Hercules had to clean the stable that had never been cleaned before. I made a post about that, right? Y'all go back and read the post. So we're dealing with mythology and astrology here. Okay, so this is philology. All right? So JC, quote unquote, now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king. Now when Jesus was born in the house of corn, or the house of bread is Bethlehem, in the days of Herod the king, or what does it say when we use the literal meaning? Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to find the literal, I forgot the when JC was born, I lost, hold on. Hold on, y'all. So I made a mistake. Let me get this right. Okay. So yes. So the house of corn being the zodiac sign of Virgo, who is distinguished by the spike of corn in her hand, and is the genesis of the month of August, which is the harvest, y'all, which is further distinguished by, and we see the Greek two words, the house of corn or bread. So I didn't make a mistake. I said it right. I said it right. There's no mistake. Empress Roro writes yes, and I highlighted that part. Okay, great. So I said it right. That is most literally of the zodiac, and still further by addition, in the days of Herod the king, that is, not in the days as signifying the reign of any king on earth called Herod, but in accordance to the ephemeris or almanac of Hercules the sun. So in other words, this is not a Bethlehem on earth city. This is astrological. Okay, it is the almanac, or it is Hercules, the sun, going throughout going in and out of each zodiac sign. That's what he's talking about. All right? Let me see. Give me 1 second. So I'm trying to, so here's what it's saying. Here's what it's saying. When Yes was born in the house of corn, in the days of the hero of the skin. That's the literal meaning of it, y'all. In the days of the hero of the skin. So that's Hercules. Okay, that's King Hercules. And King Hercules is the sun. So it's just tracing the sun's movement into the zodiacs. Okay, that's all it's doing. And then the killing of the children 2 years and under is speaking to the fact that the sun has to go into Gemini before it goes into Virgo. Okay? Now it's written in English as killing, but in the original Greek it's written literally as pass through or go through. That's on page 23. All right? So here's the fraudulent English translation that the author was talking about. Here's an example of it. The two sons don't get killed. The sun passes through the two sons. All right? That's all it's saying. The sun passes through sons. S-O-N sons. That's Gemini. Two sons under 2 years old. So they remix. Y'all, it's hard to focus with all of this going on. Between the mosquitoes and the noise, I really need a studio. So the sun, again, Yes was born in the house of the corn, which is Virgo. Okay? And it is not in the days of Herod the king. It is literally the hero of the skin, who is Hercules. And it is not, except for in English, it is not that the two boys get killed. It is literally in the Greek that the sun passes through the two boys, or Gemini. So y'all see here, there's a completely different meaning. A completely different story that these scribes came up with. How? Using language. Okay, y'all? Okay? Let me see, is there anything else about this? So Gemini, twins of May. Let's see what else. Which Herod is said to kill. I covered that. Okay, so and that there were but two of them. That's confirmed by Jeremiah the prophet. And Rama means the zodiac. Okay, so in the zodiac, I'm on page 23, second paragraph, quote unquote. In Rama was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, end quote. Why Rama? What is Rama? Why, Rama is the Hindustani, Coptic, Syriac, Phoenician word, Phoenician Hebrew, Ancient Ibaryath, and literal name for the Zodiac. The high, the elevated, the exalted. Now, why did they hide from you that Rama is an ancient Hindustani word? Well, we go back to was it page 20, y'all? We initially started, page 20. They add new sounds, they add grammar rules, but the radical itself, the meaning, basically stays the same. And they hide the origin of the words. Why would they hide the origin of the words? Because it's coming out of Hindustan. Today they call it English, India. Because now, if you understood, if you knew all of this stuff, you would be able to tell what? That Christianity stole their stories from other religions. Stole their stories from other religions that are more ancient. At least that's what the scholars say. But let me tell you what's probably most likely true. What's probably most likely true, this is what I think, is that based upon the Zodiac and all the information about the Zodiac, they created all these religions at basically the same time. Yeah, what did they do? They took the sciences in different parts of the world, customs, etc. And they just adjusted the story for the local science, culture, and traditions. That's all they did. And they wrote them in their own language in those areas, period. And they added new grammar rules, new sounds, etc. to hide it. And then they gave them different dates. They made up dates to make it look ancient, when in fact it is not ancient. And remember, I mentioned earlier that these languages, in my opinion, they're just different dialects of one language. Now that's my opinion. They just made this stuff up when they came to power to create this religious paradigm. And then they backed it up with what? Darwinism and all the other fake sciences. Okay, so now let's continue. Why Rama, R-A-M-A, is the Hindustani, that's India, Coptic, Syriac, Phoenician Hebrew, Ancient Ibaryath word, and literal name for the Zodiac, the high, the elevated, the exalted. And this whole tale, this whole fantasy, this whole fairy tale of the birth of Christ in the days of Herod the king is found in the Bhagavad Purana of India, Hindustani, in the Mitrics of Persia, Iran, and in the fabulous writings ascribed to Zoroaster, the supposed contemporary of Moses. As turn to the old astronomy ascribed to Moses, you will find Rachel had but two sons, Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph and Benjamin are Gemini. They're Gemini in the Zodiac. All right? And King Herod is no other than such a sort of personage as our England. I don't know John Bull. Somebody Google John Bull. John Bull. He never grows old. He never dies. But he is the bloody King Herod, the naughty man that comes to take away the naughty children. Maybe I don't know who he's talking about. right, y'all. So we've been here 2 hours and 26 minutes. So let me see if there's, hold on, I kind of want to go forward, but so we're going to get more into Herod the king, the hero of the skin, on page 24. So let's wrap it up here, y'all. We won't go any further. But wait a minute, there's a footnote. There's a footnote on page 23. It reads, he took away the boys, i.e. the boys of the sun. Pleiades, whence the Greek formed their words. We see the Greek word boys was a common title of the sun and meant particularly the sun in Gemini. Y'all see that? Here it is. So the sun is passing through Gemini before it can get to the Virgin Virgo, who's holding a sheath of corn in her hand. Y'all read this. Okay? All right, so now when Jesus was born in the house of corn and the sun was passing through Gemini, the sun is none other but the hero of the skin, King Hercules, before the sun goes into the Lion of July. All right? And that's all it's saying. I got this on page 22 and 23. If y'all see it differently, put it in the comment section. I would love to see what your thoughts are. Okay? All right, so let's call it a day. I'm already hungry. So we're going to get into Pleiades and everything. We're going to get into Pleiades and everything. So when he took away the boys, he's talking about King Herod, right? King Herod in Gemini. I'm in the footnote. I.e. the boys of the sun, Gemini. Pleiades, whence the Greek formed their words, boys, was a common title of the sun and meant particularly the sun in Gemini. If you look on page 24, you'll see Pleiades about midway down. It says, now the Greek word, and we see it betrays to us the Coptic article. And this is the glyph of Gemini. It looks like Roman numeral number 2. Okay? So now the Greek word Pleiades portrays to us the Coptic article, which is Gemini, or looks like a Roman numeral number 2, in composition with the Phoenician word 80. So another compound word. So Herod is 2 compounded words, 2. And then Pleiades is 2 compounded words. The whole word Pleiades being the common title of the sun, formed from the radicals pi, a, s, 3 radicals, Hades, Pleiades, the Lord fire. Hence the Latin word for a boy, puer, P-U-E-R, is the Greek word for fire. Y'all got that? The Latin word for boy is the Greek word for fire. Make the connection. A son with a womb or without a womb, a son, S-O-N, make the connection. I believe it's the Dutch word for sun, S-O-N, is S-U-N. I think it's also in German. Y'all check it. As above, so below. As below, so above. The sun, what is the son to his father? The sun is supposed to be what? The light of your world. Right? Y'all see the connection? The energy that heats our body. That miniature sun that we have, that power pack, that battery that creates energy, that sustains and facilitates life. So there's the sun, the disk in the sky, and then there's the sun that provides the same function in our body. S-O-N sun, S-U-N sun, as above, so below, as below, so above. The sun is the light of his father's eye, comes from, quote, the Lord fire, hence the Latin word for boy, puer, is the Greek word for fire. Y'all see the connection? The root of the English words pure, P-U-R-E, and purity. For example, the woman is pure. Okay, she's a virgin. Okay, we're talking Christian doctrine, right? And the key of the evangelical conundrum, quote, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God, end quote. They shall see Zeus. They shall see Dios. They shall see Dios and Jupiter and Thoth and Odin and Woden, etc. That is, the stars that shine the brightest are nearest to the sun. The S-U-N. The stars that shine the brightest are nearest to the sun. And these boys in Rama, that is Gemini and the Zodiac, the Maserat, the Zoad, which Herod passed over, are demonstrated to have been none other than the fiery boys of the Zodiac. The two bright clusters of stars representing the figure of two boys, which the sun enters in the month of May, and for which Rachel weeps. And we will not be confronted, not because they are killed, but because they are not. That is, because they are rendered invisible, no longer to be seen. So when the sun is there, you can see the two stars, you can see Gemini. But when it's not, you cannot see them, therefore they're killed. That's the same concept. That's the same concept of when the sun goes below, or when Sagittarius goes below the horizon. They're said to have what? Drowned, died, because you can no longer see them in the sky. Remember that, y'all? Same concept. They're not literally dead, you just can't see them. Not because they are killed, but because they are not. Meaning, because they are not rendered, because they are rendered invisible, no longer to be seen by the naked human eye, are absorbed into the superior effluence of the sun's brightness. The sun is so bright, you can't see them. Okay? And passing through them. So when the sun passes through Gemini, the sun is so bright that you can no longer see the stars. You can no longer see them. But when the sun goes out, now you can see them again. Okay? So it's just the brightness, the shine. makes it impossible for you to see those two stars or to see Gemini. I hope I'm making it clear. I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comment section if y'all understand my commentary. Okay, but Gemini is absorbed in the superior brightness of the sun in passing through them, as he does in the month of May, when, lost, dissolved in his superior rays, one tide of glory, one unclouded blaze overflows his courts. Thus, in that name of God, Hercules, reduced to its radicals, we have the three Ammonian primitives. Ammonian, is that Ammon? Which are light, all, fire, which is in the composition, the light, the universal fire, or palindromatically, the fire, the universal source of light, that is the sun. Let me show y'all this. Now this is the Ancient Ibaryath words written in biblical Hebrew text. Okay? So if this had dots and dashes, if it had the Nakud, those dots and dashes, it would be modern biblical Hebrew. Okay? And what else? Modern Hebrew font, pictographs is what I meant. So this is a biblical Hebrew pictographs for each of those words. You see there are no dots and dashes, y'all. No dots and dashes. So what they did was replace the Ancient Ibaryath pictographs, and they added their own pictographs. All right, y'all? And then later they followed it up with a system of dots and dashes, which created vowel sounds, whereas originally there are no vowel sounds. So he's demonstrating, showing us what he talked about that we went through at the beginning of this video. Okay? So again, thus, in that name of God, Hercules. So we're dealing with Hercules, right? What is Hercules? Herod. Remember, Herod, two words combined. Page 22. Y'all go back and review this. Meaning the hero of the skin, which is King Hercules. Okay? Now we need to deal with Hercules. Hercules reduced to its radicals, we have the three Ammonian primitives. Primitives are nothing but radicals. It's a different language. It's not Latin, it's not Greek, it's not Hindustani. What is it? It's the Ammonian radicals. See, they hid the source or the origin of the language from which the radical came from. Y'all see it? The author is demonstrating everything that he said when we began the video. Clear? But as you can see, that these radicals, just like the author said, yes, they're changed. Yes, they exist across all languages. They do. But you got to know something about etymology and grammar. You need to know how to identify these things. So he's done a good job, in my opinion, of demonstrating how they created new words, compounded words. They added prefix, infix, suffix, created grammar rule, everything that they did to hide these radicals in different languages. Okay, because if you know what language they're in, you can connect them to a story. Why? Because they made the huge mistake of associating the Gospels with a specific time, ERA, a specific era of time. or epoch of time, and a specific location. So we can work backwards and figure it all out. All right, y'all? So, the primitive ammonium, the three ammonium primitives I showed y'all, which mean light. Oh, isn't that interesting? Oh, isn't that interesting for those of us who are familiar with the Hermetic law? All, A-L-L, the all. Mentalism, the first law of mentalism. All is mind. The mind is where? In the mind of the all. Existing in the mind of the all. Make the connection, scholars. So light, all, fire. So you know he's talking about the sun, which is in the composition, the light, the universal fire. How about the all? Hermetically speaking, y'all. Y'all see that? You see the Hermetic law there? See, all laws, all of the laws are in where? The mind of the all. The substance. Y'all see it? All is mind. Where's everything at? In the mind of the all. Or, palindromically, the fire. The universal source of light. That is the sun, the S-U-N, sun. Okay, who's the light of his Father's eye? The sun is the light of his Father's eye. Right? Y'all see it? The son reflects his father. Why? Because the father raised him. He's going to pick up the attitude, behaviors, and habits of his father. Y'all see it? You see the sun, S-U-N, and son, S-O-N, relationship here? From the Greek and the Latin? Can y'all see that also? As there in the Zodiac and the Lion of July is that Clinonian liar, whom the light, Clinonian lion, whom the light, the universal fire, that is the sun, the King Herod, the hero of the skin, every year overcomes and passes through in his annual progress, with whose skin he seems to invest himself as a trophy of his victory, and as in which investure he is addressed in those words of the psalmist, or ancient magical incantations. Y'all hear that about the psalm? Ancient magical incantations. That's right. Appointed to be read through every month in honor of the 12 months of the year. Quote, O Lord my God, O Lord Zeus, O Lord Jupiter, O Lord Odin, thou art become exceedingly glorious. Thou art clothed with majesty and honor. Thou deckest thyself with light, the sun, right? As with a garment, as what, the skin of a lion, and spreadeth out thy heavens like a curtain. O sing unto God, O sing unto Zeus, O sing unto Dios, O sing unto any of the solar deities you can think of, unto Hercules, and sing praises unto his name. Magnify him that rideth upon the heavens as upon a horse, even God, even Zeus, even Hercules, even Jupiter, even Odin, is his holy habitation, end quote. So there we have it. All right. There we have it. Hidden in plain sight. Thus, too, the epithet added to the name of Herod, that is, the hero of the skin, Herod the king. In Hebrew, that's biblical Hebrew, Moloch. Biblical Hebrew characters, Moloch. Biblical Hebrew is not Ancient Ibaryath. Modern Hebrew is not Ancient Ibaryath. Okay, so what have they done? They've created their own language using our roots or radicals, making their own pictographs and adding and changing grammar rules. And they've created whole libraries of literature. Much of it is probably copied from ours, but written in the biblical and modern Hebrew. Right, y'all? So we as a people should be ashamed. It's such a dishonor. But I'm not going to get into that. Okay? So that is the hero of the skin, Herod the king in Hebrew, Moloch. In Greek, and they have it in Greek, but I don't read Greek. In Latin, Rex, the ruler, the regulator, was a characteristic epithet of the sun, the S-U-N sun. The S-U-N sun to rule the day, the monarch or only governor of the whole solar system. Y'all got that? So we're going to stop here, y'all. Purely astrological. What do y'all think? Did the author supply enough evidence? Is it convincing enough that this quote, now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, end quote, did the author prove his point? That this does not mean that? That first of all, Jesus is not Jesus. Jesus is, if you want to be correct, Jesus is yes, Y-E-S, period. There should be no Latin suffix, no Latin termination, U-S. Okay? Bethlehem is literally the house of corn, which is the zodiac sign Virgo, the virgin. The virgin. So the sun was in the zodiac sign called the Virgin. And that in the days of Herod literally means, hold on, let me find it again, y'all. Hero of the skin. Hero of the skin. And when you look at how these words are constructed, what you will find is that we're dealing with Gemini, the sun, the sun, S-U-N, sun, passing through Gemini before it goes into Virgo. And that the story of Herod killing the children of 2 years of age is what, y'all? What is it? It's nothing more than the sun being so bright that when it enters into Gemini, the zodiac sign called Gemini, you can no longer see Gemini because of the brightness of the sun. The sun's brightness drowns out Gemini. So, in that sense, Gemini is dead. In other words, you can't see it with your naked eye because the sun is too bright. But when the sun leaves Gemini, well, now you can see Gemini again. It's not literally dead. Right, y'all? And then when we look at Pleiades, we see the sun in Gemini. Right? And when you take it further, you see for Hercules, Herod is Hercules. You see that Herod is really the 3 Ammonian radicals or primitives. Same thing, y'all. Radicals, primitives, same. Light, all, and fire. Light is sunlight. Fire is sunlight. Clear? All. That's the Hermetic laws. All is mind. All is mind, inside of the mind of the all. And sun. S-U-N, sun, and S-O-N, sun, has reference to who? To you. Hello, hi. Some little children are so curious about me. They want to talk to me. You know, hello there, hi. Hello. Do you want to see? They're curious because I'm live streaming. Okay, y'all. So let's go back into it in review. In review, page 24. Pi add S. The Lord fire. Hence the Latin word for a boy, a huer, is the Greek word for fire. The root of the English word pure, and purity, the virgin. The key to the astronomical conundrum, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. That is, the stars that shine the brightest are nearest to the sun. So y'all let me know if y'all think that the author adequately made his case. Let me see, there's a comment here. Radicals writes, wow, your explanations make sense as you break down and coalesce linguistics, grammar, history, astronomy, etc. We'll reach out to you. Thank you for your time and knowledge. Oh, much appreciated. Thank you so much for that feedback. Y'all know that, just by that type of participation and feedback, it makes it so much easier to continue doing these lessons and to feel good about it. So, Radicals, you really gave me some extra motivation. I really, really appreciate that. Empress Roro writes, didn't you want to slap one of them? Hey, clarify that, Empress Roro. Oh, no. That I was talking about. Oh no, it's a different group here now. I started 3 hours ago. Well, 2 hours and 54 minutes ago. So it's a different group. These were behaved. The others, their parents just let them run wild. And I didn't mean that literally, right? Okay, y'all. So, the sun with the womb or the sun without a womb is the light of his father's eyes, or the light of his life. Right, y'all? Remember the power pack? As above, so below. As below, so above. The sun is the source of energy that facilitates life on Earth. We have that power pack in us that creates heat, allows us to animate, metabolize, facilitates life. Y'all see it? See it? You make the connection linguistically with the Dutch word for son, S-O-N, S-U-N is the same, also in Germany. Make that connection. The next connection. The Father is masculine mental energy. The Father never changes. Not subject to birth, not subject to death. Always was, always will be. There's no change in the Father. Feminine, that's masculine mental energy, exists outside of the fleshly body, proven by science. This is the observer, the silent witness. Okay? That's what that is. I'm going into the Trinity. See, we did this with the Tetragrammaton, right? This is the I am. I am, I be, I exist. Masculine mental energy does not change. Right? I am that I am. Now let's deal with the Holy Spirit. This is mental gender, feminine energy. Okay, so this is the me, my fleshly body, my mentality, my hopes, dreams, aspirations, my doings. We, all of us, are always changing. Always changing, never the same. The Holy Spirit creates. The Holy Spirit creates at what? At the will of the Father. The Holy Spirit is feminine mental energy. This can be likened to your subconscious mind that dictates your behavior, your self-concept, everything. Y'all see it? So masculine mental energy, the Father's will shall be done. Right? Collaborates with feminine mental energy. Or with what? The Holy Spirit. And this is your Tetragrammaton. Meaning to say, I am that I am. In religion, y'all are taught, I am, I exist, I be, I am, and I will become. See, the Holy Spirit is always becoming, changing. I will become. The Father acts through His Holy Spirit. I will become whatever I need to become to save my people. I will become whatever I need to become to save myself. That's the Tetragrammaton. And the Son, we just covered it. We just covered the Son. Right? So you got the Father, the Son with the womb and the Son without a womb. And you got the Holy Spirit. That gives you your Trinity. You are the Trinity. I'm talking to you according to the Hermetic laws that have been remixed into religion, into a doctrine. That's the holy. That's the Trinity. Okay, and the all is the law of mentalism. All is mind. So where is the mind held? The mind is held in the law, in the mind of the all. See, the all is the substance, the essential substance. Period. Do y'all see it? The astrology and the Hermetic laws, the nature. To summarize it all, the nature, the Maserat, the Zodiac, the laws of linguistics, which you have been taught to violate. And there is a natural law punishment for that. It's called cause and effect. Why? Because you are entering into verbal contracts and written contracts all the time and you don't understand language. And therefore, And therefore, that's a big reason why you're still stuck muddling around in the filth of religion. Shalom in Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Thank you to everyone who has bought my books, subscribed to my classes, and especially those who have contributed to my project to write the Book of the Law in Ancient Ibaryath. See, this is nothing, y'all. What we do in our Saturday class is much, much more than this. And what I do, if y'all support it, what I will do and what you will see in terms of what you just witnessed now, this is small scale. We only dealt with maybe two or maybe three radicals. Imagine dealing with every word in the Book of the Law, every radical. But anyway, thanks to y'all who have supported that project. My PayPal, the link is in the description area of the video. PayPal.me/Zion Law School. Okay? So thank you. If y'all want to support it, if y'all want to have our own Book of the Law written in Ancient Ibaryath, not Biblical Hebrew, not modern Hebrew, but in Ancient Ibaryath with the modern English rendering of every word, and no lies and no deceit. All of the Jeremiah 8:8 taken out. If you want to support that so I can provide that project, it's a big project. Go ahead and send in your donation to support it, okay? So thank y'all for spending so much time with me. I'm going to go eat. I'm tired. I got a long, long week coming up. Still got exams to give. And of course, grading the exams. So anyway, Islam to all the Moors and Shalom. I'm Dr. Yasapa. I'll see y'all in 12 to 24 hours.